Hello my dear friends, you're in the Military Summary channel, and this video we're going to discuss the most important events that took place during the previous 12 hours. We have a lots of very interesting updates, so let's start. And this video, let's start from the 47th President of the United States of America, Donald Trump. Today he stated that he is going to, the United States will achieve a reduction in oil prices for pressure on Russia in Ukraine and will attract China to influence Moscow. During the speech in Davos on the video, he said that he would seek from Saudi Arabia on a pact of reduction oil prices, including for pressure on Russia on the issue of war in Ukraine. In his words, if price of oil falls, then the war in Ukraine will end. Additional statement made by Trump said that Ukraine is ready to conclude a deal to resolve the conflict. Also, Trump stated that he would like to see Putin as soon as possible. I will be very happy to meet with Putin to end the war. Kiev is lying about its losses, there are much more. I'll remind you that on the 9th of January of 2025, according to the Ministry of Defense of Russian Federation, the total losses of the armed forces of Ukraine were more than 1 million people. I will be very glad to meet President Putin to put on end to this war. This is a real massacre. Cities are destroyed. We must stop this horror, he said in online flight in Davos. So what is happening? According to Donald Trump, Ukraine is ready to start peace negotiations, but when talking about the situation on the ground, and for example, when talking about events that took place during the previous 12 hours, we can't say that Ukrainians are ready for peace negotiations. Today, the Minister of Defense of Russian Federation in the morning of the 24th of January stated that they brought down the significant number of drones that were sent from Ukrainian side. The sources are saying that the Russians managed to bring down more than 100 drones that were attacking energy facilities all over the entire territory of Russia. And during the previous night, we got a lot of videos of explosions, for example, in the city of Bryansk. In this video, we can see another explosion on the territory of the settlement. Once again, when talking about this city, don't forget that there are several warehouses, ammo warehouses and chemical plants in the vicinity of this settlement. I remind you that several weeks ago the Ukrainians were trying to attack this chemical plant, but during that attack the Russians managed to bring down those drones. Furthermore, there were several explosions on the territory of Ryazan. Let's take a look at them. So this is the video of Ryazan oil refinery, and in this video we can see a fire. It's already the consequences of Ukrainian drone strike. And for example, this is the video of explosion on the territory of Ryazansky oil refinery. Today we start receiving reports that several military plants, several military enterprises of the Russian Federation were forced to shut down due to the losses and due to damage that Ukrainians dealt during the previous night. And you know that the Russians suffered significant problems during the previous 12 hours, and this attack, I think, doesn't mean that Zelensky is ready for negotiation. This attack tells us that Ukrainians are going to continue, which means that the Russians will soon counterattack with missiles. Now let's discuss the situation on the ground, and of course the most important updates are coming from the territory of the settlement of Velyka Novosilka. Today the Russian sources published the video how they managed to raise the flag, but before the video different sources including neutral mappers and pro-Ukrainian mappers adjusted their maps, and most of the mappers currently show that Velyka Novosilka is divided in two, the northern and the southern parts. When talking about pro-Ukrainian sources like Deep State, they show that the entire Velyka Novosilka is already located in the gray zone. Just probably several buildings in the northwestern part still remains under Ukraine control. The rest of the city, the rest of the town is in the gray zone, which means that during the next 24 hours, most likely the settlement of Velyka Novosilka would be captured by the Russians and cleared completely. Now let's discuss the video. The Russian sources published the video how they were answering the settlement of Velyka Novosilka with a significant number of armored vehicles, tanks and fighting infantry vehicles. In this video we can see the moment when the Russians were entering the settlement, and there are lots of episodes in this video, lots of scenes with violence and many other things, so we will not watch them. And in the final part of the video we can see how Russian soldier raised the flag in the most central part of the settlement. This is exactly the building where the Russian flag was raised. Based on this video we have adjusted the map in the central part, in the eastern part and in the southeastern part. We still don't know know the exact status of the Ukrainians in the southern part, but once again, according to different sources, the Ukrainians on the territory of the southern Velyka Novosilka were caught in cauldron. And we don't know the exact status of the northern part. Maybe this territory, by the time you watch this video, will be taken by the Russians as well. Anyway, let's wait and see, but once again, according to different sources, most likely the settlement of Velyka Novosilka will be captured by the Russians and secured completely today. Now let's move further and let's discuss the situation in the Kurakhove direction. During the previous 24 hours, the Ukrainians carried out several counterattacks in the eastern direction from the settlement of Andreevka, and as a result of those attacks, the Ukrainians managed to restore control over the dense network of the fortifications that is located between the settlement of Shevchenka and Andreevka itself. In this video, we can see how the Russians were after withdrawing Ukrainian vehicles that were located along the line of combat contact in this area. Based on this video, we have adjusted the map, and most of the mappers have adjusted their maps in Ukrainian favor. The Russian sources published the video, the Ukrainian sources published the video, how they were attacking the Russians on the most western edge of the settlement of Shevchenka. So this video is another confirmation that the settlement of Shevchenka is under complete Russian control and that the Russians have strong positions in this part of the settlement. Now let's move further and let's discuss the situation in the Pokrovsk direction. According to information we have, during the previous 12 hours, the Russians managed to improve their positions to the south of the settlement of Udachna. So another territories were taken by the Russians, and based on this configuration, we can make a conclusion that currently the Russians are trying to outflank the village of Udachna from the south and to attack the territory from the western direction. This is the tactics that the Russians began using probably in 2024. First to outflank the settlement and then just to attack it. Now let's move further and let's discuss the situation in the Lyman direction, because there are still very heavy clashes for the dense network of the fortifications between the settlement of Kolodzy and Ivanovka. During the previous night, the Ukrainians made another attempt to counterattack Russian positions. In this video, we can see lots of Ukrainian vehicles and infantry that were attacked that first landed in this area along the tree lines and tried to restore control over the territory lost during the previous days, but the Russians discovered the positions of Ukrainian forces and then the Russians began bombing them. Anyway, despite the fact that there are still very heavy clashes, we have colored this territory in Ukrainian favor. This area it has a very big dynamic, but the thing is that almost every single day we adjust the map, first in Russian favor, then we adjust the map in Ukrainian favor, so there is no progress on the ground, just the clashes for the same strongholds, and every single day we are changing the owner of these strongholds. Maybe sometimes during the day we make several adjustments on map. The most important videos are coming not from just Kolodzy Ivanovka, but the most important videos are coming from the line between Lyman and the settlement of Derilova. Let's take a look at this video. If you remember yesterday or the day before yesterday, we were talking that the Ukrainians were complaining that the Russians brought the North Korean artillery systems Kaksan 170 millimeters, and that these systems is a very big pain for the Ukrainians because they don't know for sure and they can't do anything with these long-range artillery systems that can destroy anything on their way. The Ukrainians are saying that if the Russians bring these systems, then they don't need to use FABs because these 170 millimeter shells can destroy any fortified area and any stronghold without any problem. And today we got a lot of videos of how the Russians were bombing the city of Lyman and the city of Drobyshevo and the vicinity of the settlements with the use of these Koksan artillery systems, and we see that Ukrainians can't do anything with this. The Russians are able to destroy Ukrainian temporary deployment points of much deeper, as deep as possible, to attack Ukrainian rear and to see no resistance from the Ukrainian side. This artillery system is very powerful. This is obviously not like the weapon of victory, but obviously this weapon brings significant benefits to the Russians in any direction they use this type of artillery system. Now let's move further and let's discuss the situation in the Sudzha direction, where we got additional changes on the ground. The first and the most important update is coming from the settlement of Sverdlikova. The Ukrainian sources of 225th Storm Battalion, separate Storm Battalion, published the video of how they were bombing and attacking the positions of the armed forces of Russian Federation on the northwestern outskirts of the settlement of Sverdlikova with the use of cluster rounds. Very difficult to understand whether the Russians managed to survive after such a pressure, but the most important thing is that this video shows strikes exactly in this point. Based on this video, we have adjusted the map and we have added additional territories under complete Russian control. Also, different sources confirmed that indeed the Russians managed to improve their positions and to answer the northwestern part of Sverdlikova. So this is very important because this means that today, on the 21st of January, the battle for the settlement has begun. Furthermore, the Ukrainian sources published the video of another Russian attack in the direction of Malaya Loknya. In this video, we can see lots of tanks, vehicles, fighting infantry vehicles that were heading towards this small agglomeration, and how the Ukrainians were trying to destroy the Russian convoys and to slow them down. A lot of episodes in this video. One of the episodes took place exactly in this point, and based on this episode, we have adjusted the map. So as you can see, there are still very heavy clashes, just for small square meters in the direction of Malaya Loknya, but we see that despite having big losses, despite different talks and rumors, the Russians are advancing. Yes, they're advancing very slow, but they're advancing, and with this with this they will be able to secure this territory within the next 2 or 3 weeks. Now let's discuss the situation in Sudzha. Today we got the video of how the Russians discovered the positions and the concentration of the armed forces of Ukraine in the northeastern direction of the settlement, and they destroyed this temporary deployment point with FAB 3000. Now, the weather is getting better right now along the entire line of combat contact, and probably a week ago we started receiving more and more videos of how the Russians began bombing and attacking the Ukrainian positions with FABs, which obviously will increase the speed and the progress of the armed forces of Russian Federation along the entire line of combat contact. And that's it for the short video. Military Summary channel reminds to condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, join my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye bye.